Great. Okay, we're right on dot here, 3:50. I think we got a lot of folks online because we had 98 people signed up on the session, and there obviously is not 98 people in the room. So hello everyone online too. There's a lot of you, I think. And everyone in the room, thanks for coming to a session after lunch. I hope your conference is going really well and you all are networking and making great connections and contacts with each other. My name is Dr. Paul De La Cerda. I'm the privilege here to kind of kick us off here on this session on building a self-sufficient future for adult learners using the IET model. Who's already attended a session already on IET today? And this is like your follow-ups. So some of you all raise your hand if this is your first session for IET. Okay. And let's do another poll on who does not have IET at their site currently. Raise your hand if you do not have an IET program currently functioning or available. So you all in the room have IET of some format, looks like, right? Okay. So what we're going to do then is obviously maybe even ask you questions and pass the mic around because you could probably share about what programs you're doing because we'd be interested in hearing that. And today what we're going to do is share you a promising practice program at Porterville Adult School. We have Dr. Larianne Torres here with us today as well, and she's going to share with you her program and the successes and obviously too the bumps in the roads that come along with starting and launching one. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. So again, I'm going to just recap kind of where and why we kind of got involved, my team got involved, and then partnered with several different adult schools in our flagship adult school at Porterville. Porterville, California is in central California. It is the heartland, if you will, of the farmlands of our state. Actually, my roots are from there. So I'm going to tell you a little quick personal story. That's where my family's from. And the amazing thing about it is I didn't know much about that growing up in California because I'm second, third generation Mexican American. Growing up second, third generation, the family didn't really talk about that heritage much. And I really don't understand why, to be honest. I never asked my grandfather why that was, that they didn't share. But I have to guess to say it was probably a hard life. And they worked really hard in the fields to make a better life for me and my brothers and sisters, my cousins. There's about 70 or 80 of us, cousins, first cousins, and now just a huge amount of family now that all because of the migration and the decision for them to come looking for a better life for themselves. My mother, English was or Spanish was her first language, and when they moved to Los Angeles and bought their first home, and she started elementary school, she spoke with an accent, very, very heavy accent, still learning the language. As a little girl, she grew up in the LA Unified School District, very much not feeling belonged, very much alone, feeling very lonely, and it was a tough time for her. When she just barely made it through high school, barely, and it was a tough road. She didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. She really had no encouragement. She was still struggling with English as a second language, but she found a local program. I'm sure you probably know what program that is. It's an ESL program at a local adult school in her community. And she went there for actually one reason. It wasn't to really perfect her English. They had a jazzercise program. Do you guys remember jazzercise back in the 70s? All right. So and she found out she really wanted to get into it. She was a huge fan of Jane Fonda at the time and was like, I want to do this. So her friend said, let's go do jazzercise. And they said, oh, and also you're going to learn English also at the same time. Okay, great. So it was a great way and a good angle, right? You got to have that sometimes to get people to come and meet and then learn English and have fun and learn to dance. And then they end up practicing a lot. Our house became a place where it was mostly women would come and practice, and then they would practice English. My mom became really good friends with them, and the teacher really loved that my mom was doing that. They continued it out of the classroom, and then it gave her an opportunity to be an ESL aide, her first job. And from there, she had a 25-year career in the school district. Never would have thought that that would have been her career pathway, was that exposure to that ESL instructor that believed in her, loved her personality, loved that she could connect to other people and use it as a recruiting tool. And she retired as a school professional. So really special thing. This to think about what you just never know, right? How ESL can affect in this. Now, fast forward here, the programs that I'm now doing actually just ties to the fact that there's still need, and we know there's still need. In California, there's in Central Valley especially, is a very special place, and there we do have a lot of gaps, and those things are being filled by our wonderful adult schools that are in that area. We're going to share you about that. The situational analysis of this is based on a lot of empirical research that I started in my doctoral program at USC about what can we do better to close these skills gaps when it came to language learning. And so in that, we're really looking at high demand opportunities for individuals to go into careers that will help them, again, try to, again, come and raise the bar in their families and build a better self-sufficient life for themselves and for their families. So again, the situation here is looking at the career readiness, looking at preventing adults from not pursuing careers if they don't finish high school and they have to persist after that and find themselves at adult school to finish their GED or in high school learnings. This program in particular is grant funded. It's part of an ecosystem program. It started with a Perkins grant that the Adult Ed Consortia landed to launch a new initiative to look at career readiness for all of our adult schools. In that spurred public-private partnership that brought in a lot of different types of organizations. Some of those you recognize because they're sponsors of COABE. And so the funding mechanisms that allowed us to do this project were really appreciative for us being able to join forces with different state and federal agencies to fund our program. This career readiness job model is based on an exploration model that was designed and put together during my doctoral program at USC. And in there, we were really trying to examine the student first, putting the student first about self-discovery and retracing the steps of what and where they were in their lives, but getting them to really self-reflect on themselves. A lot of times we seem to sometimes forget that there's a lot of trauma and a lot of barriers that come along with adult learners, as we know, and we don't give them the time to reflect on who they are. And when we do that, I do believe we do discover a lot more about really how to help them and how to serve them, rather than just come straight into a program and not doing that piece. So in that, you get that discovery phase, which then engages them and keeps them at your schools a lot longer. And I'm sure you have that and have programs that help your retention when you really dig a lot deeper into the person themselves. Then you find the career. So where did we start? We did this really intense research, quantitative research about the landscape and the ecosystem that we were going to serve. In that, we came up with a lot of findings and learned a lot. These are probably not unique to your schools as well, but what we were discovering, again, was these important elements that, and you will get these slide decks so you can read all these quotes. It's just a sampling of what's unique about the adult learners that we're going to serve. Again, it's about family, mostly people really trying to do better for their families and their lives. The family dynamic is very complex in adult schools. In the Central Valley also, you still have very, very deep roots into the farm working communities as well. And a lot of times, and Dr. Torres is going to probably talk to you about this, her students come, with, again, a lot of different mindsets and barriers that you have to break through and really wrap your arms around those students and help them understand it's okay to go against the grain of what their family normally expects of them to do. And then along with that was the digital literacy and language barriers. Those are huge in areas, even in today in 2025, we still find immense barriers to technology. So we're going to talk to you about some new technologies that Porterville Adult School has adopted and are utilizing and that we're testing in the adult education space. State of career readiness, super challenging right now. Super challenging still, in the sense that high school graduates, still 75% are not ready to make career and college decisions. That's too high. That's too high. But that's what makes, I think what we're hearing in all the other presentations, why we exist as adult educators. And then the other results, as you can see, are high as well, of how many are reporting that they're not prepared. They don't feel prepared. Even if they finish high school, they still don't feel prepared. So along with that, 2 million immigrants in the U.S. are either unemployed or underemployed. 67% of our English language learners in the U.S. have low or no digital literacy skills. 1 in 5 of U.S. adults have low English literacy. And 46% of people who are postgraduate degrees say their employers give them opportunities to improve their skills, but 28% of people in secondary ed say they have the same. So those are pretty low as well. So what are we trying to accomplish? This goal. And this sets the stage for you to hear from Dr. Torres about creating a very healthy, and I stress the word healthy, pipeline, a pipeline that can thrive, that can help the adult learner in the Central Valley prepare them for a career pathway for high priority job opportunities. So we're trying to reach these audiences, which are the same audiences that you all out there are trying to reach as well. The really hard to reach populations. The strategies we're using are digital media promotion. We're leveraging the local events and students in the career exploration readiness programs that we're exploring, and sharing success stories. Very important is to share what works and what's not working. To increase the number of employer partners is a goal to make sure we get more employer engagement, which I know is a lot of what we're talking about at this conference. How do you get the employers involved in your work, building relationships? You're going to hear more about that, about how Dr. Torres works on that constantly, always out in the community to build relationships, and Workforce Development Board events as well that we attend, and then being involved with the American Job Center community as well. And then increasing adoption of this model has to do with a lot of just interaction, professional development that is being done, leveraging speaking opportunities like this to learn from you and have interaction of sharing best practices, and then using new communication channels that are out there to recruit as well, to get our learners engaged with us. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Dr. Larry-Ann Torres, and she truly does deserve a round of applause. I believe so, because she does an amazing, amazing job in her school. So
thank you, Paul, and good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys enjoying the conference? Isn't it amazing? Good. So how many of you, well, I guess before I get started, so I am the director of Porterville Adult School, so Central Valley, California, between Bakersfield and Fresno. I'm part of the Porterville Unified School District K-12 Adult Ed program, and I'm also a member of the Kern Adult Education Consortium, which is about 13 adult education providers. It's the largest boundary consortium. How many are you from California? Okay, so the rest of you that aren't from California, for us to get our state dollars in California, we have to be part of a consortium. So how the consortiums are made up, it's the community college district and your K-12 adult ed programs. That's what makes up a consortium. There's 71 consortia in California. And so we are part of the Kern Adult Education Consortium. Very large boundary area, some very rural schools. So it's very unique in how that we're set up. However, so although Porterville College, that's in Porterville with me, they're part of the Kern Adult Education or Kern Community College District, which is about an hour away from me, okay? But I'm in Tulare County. I'm not in Kern County. So I am also a partner of the Sequoia's Adult Ed Consortium, who is in Tulare County. But because Sequoia's Adult Ed Consortium is the College of the Sequoias is that community college, okay? And so it's very unique how the consortiums are kind of split up in California. They do not go with your county they're not divided that way. They're divided by your Kern Community College districts. So it's very unique. So again, you can cross multiple. You can't be a member of more than one. You could be a partner and, you know, attend those meetings, but you can't be a member of more than one. But that's how we get our state dollars. And I've got to stand back here. We have people online. So that's just a little bit about myself and my school. But what is an IET? And I know that there's a lot of IET presentations here at the conference, and there's some amazing ones. In fact, my very good friend, Jeff Arnott, anybody attend Jeff's training today? Okay, if you haven't, I want you to look at this, but there was an IET earlier today. It was a presentation by Roger. He's Executive Director of National Coalition on Certification, and Dr. Jeff Arnott, President and CEO of Lot 12. Jeff's a great friend of mine. We were on the COA board together. They did an IET presentation today, a little bit different than how we do IETs in California, because we're going to talk about that today because we have that ELL component, that literacy component that's big on an IET. Some are just looking at that certification, that workforce, and that academic. So a little bit different when we talk about IET in California, but they use NC3. Anyway, I thought it was very interesting. I highly recommend, if you haven't checked them out, to do that. But so what is an IET? Anybody tell me before we look at WIOA Title II definition? Anybody know? Okay, how many, you know, because are you from California? Yes. Okay, so from Maine. So you know what they are. So our program is a resident care technician program. That's just one of ours that I'm going to talk about today, and that specifically. But this is WIOA's definition of an IET, and I'm going to read it because it's very specific. A service approach that provides adult education and literacy activities concurrently and contextually with workforce preparation, activities, and workforce training for a specific occupation or occupational cluster for the purpose of educational and career advancement. If you're a California, your plan was due today. Okay, so I hope that anybody in here that's from California, if you are a WIOA Title II, receiving funding annually as part of our directive, we have to submit an annual plan to get our IETs approved. So my plan was already submitted, but again, they're very specific, okay? So we want to look at that. So again, the requirements or the components that an IET has to have is you've got to have your workforce. Okay, you got to have that workforce piece. You also have to have an ELL component as well, and you have to have your workforce partner. So again, a CTE, your ELL instructor, and then you have to have your workforce partner as well. So in this, did you have a question? Did somebody have? Yes, go ahead. Yes. Yes, and they're very specific and very detailed. And this year, one of the things that everyone had to add, okay, actually two things. They have to have some type of certification, or they have to meet the industry standard. They either have to be recognized by your Cal job system, like ETP, Employment Training Panel, be a approved program on that, or they have to have a certification, or they have to meet some type of industry standard. So you're selecting a career pathway, very specific industry. They also have to have, this year, what was new is you had to have a course syllabus, and it was very detailed. Of course, they gave you an example, and these have changed over the years, but this year they're getting where really it's the industry recognized. You really want to have an industry recognized integrated education and training pathway, okay? And I don't know, we've got experts in the room. Do you want to say anything? I know. Do you want to say anything about that? Because, no, it's okay, go. So like, for instance, when we do the plan, and I'm not, liking standing back here, but we have a lot of people online. You have to have your workforce partners, okay? Because, and we'll talk about how our program works, but for my resident care, which we'll get to in a minute, I have an ELL instructor and a career technical education instructor and a workforce partner. They are all working together. In fact, every week we meet and we are working on, they're doing the same curriculum, okay? And they work, so your programs can either be simultaneously or really kind of continuously, you're doing the program together as you're doing it, okay? Yes. Yes, great. So for our resident care, so we do a 2-week full-time resident care technician. And let me kind of go forward here. So this is my team, my RCT team. So I have a CT instructor, Mrs. Donna Ballard. She is our RN on site. She's our certified nurse assistant instructor. But in between both of our cohorts, we have about 2 weeks. So she is our clinical instructor, but she's also in the classroom too. But this year, because it's a lot of work to do an IET, we also brought on our certificated medical assistant instructor. That is Candelaria Centoya. So Candelaria, this time, for the first week, did the skills and the theory on site. And the ESL instructor, Mr. Ibe, is in the classroom with them, but he does his ELL or ESL piece after they do. So they meet with all the CT and get all their workforce training in the morning. Then they meet with him and he goes back through and reiterates and goes over that all the vocabulary, because there's a lot of medical vocabulary, the skills. He's in there seeing what skills they had and kind of going back over that in the afternoon. And then that second week, all of them, they all go out to clinical together. And this year, with our partner, Paul and his team, they hired a Stephanie Leva, and her title, Paul, what's her title? Case manager. So Stephanie and Mrs. Leva is providing some additional resources to our students, and we'll talk about those barriers and what they are. We even got her approved to go out to clinical with them. So they are all on site together with our clinical partner. So that whole second week, they're out there at the same time doing that program, okay? This program, Porterville Adult School's Resident Care Technician, originally it was named Patient Care when the very first started. But then our workforce partner came to us, Sequoia Transitional Care, and they asked us if we would change the name because they do much more than that. But also Patient Care has a different certification and requires some addition, and so that's why we changed the name. But that was really based on our feedback from our skilled nursing facility. So what happened and how this came about was our skilled nursing facility had a shortage of bed makers. That's what the job title was called. But the position did much more than bed making. It's really that person that is helping feed patients. They bring the patient trays and the food, to the patient in their skilled nursing in their room for them. They also help with bathing and techniques. They're really working with the nurse assistant on site, the CNA. So they had a need for that. They had a shortage. And so with our skilled nursing facilities in town, they asked us if we could create this program. So we did. We tried it out. And now it's been very successful. And we are on our 4th cohort. Well, we just finished our 4th cohort. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's gone so fast. So you're going to see pictures here in a minute. But we can't do it alone. So again, Porterville Adult School had already started the resident care. And again, that first class was called something different. And then Clover Agency came to us because of their funding that they had received. And it is around supporting IETs. So because Clover Agency and the partners that Paul has as part of the grant came to us, we were able to provide some additional resources to our students. For instance, for like our IETs, we do not charge. However, our students still have to get background checks, all of that. They have to have their immunizations. They needed a uniform, which we found out. So the first cohort, I paid for their scrubs myself out of my personal money. I didn't have any school money, didn't want to charge. So they all had same scrub top. We realized they really needed shoes and they needed a jacket, especially when they're needing to change. So we knew they needed a second uniform. So there was a lot of things that we realized that they needed support with, even transportation. And this last time we've even helped with not just transportation, but just gas money. Childcare, that was another thing. Clover has been able to provide childcare. But at Porterville Adult School, I have our partner agencies on site. So Tulare Works, they're an amazing partner. They're on our campus every Tuesday, Maria Munoz. They're a self-sufficiency worker. So our students don't have to go to that agency. They can just get all the services right on campus. Family Healthcare Network, they provide a lot of, not just healthcare services, but much more than that. Even food, even helping apply for other programs. So we have one of their staff members on our campus, actually 2 of them, every month. And so they provide tons of services. And then of course, Paul and his team provide a lot of different supportive services for, again, the adults enrolled in the program. So let's look at, we did receive a promising practice at CASA Summer Institute last year. So we want to thank them for that because that's really giving us some recognition as well. But also it's allowed us to be able to change and make our program better every time. So what are the pros? Well, I would say we've been able to meet our student needs, okay? Our high-level ELLs, that's who we really look to, that are interested in going in the healthcare. That's really who we target, but anybody can enroll in the program. Anybody, okay? Quality curriculum, that's one of the things. With our, we have advisories. How many of you have advisories? Well, our IET, we have an advisory for our IET. So we bring in our partner agencies, Sequoia Transitional Care, and they come to the table with us and really look at our curriculum, but also let us know what's going on at their facility as well, so we can add things. If something's needed, like if we need to train like our students, and this is not part of the certification, but CPR and first aid, they have to have that. There's also Keenan workplace safety skills. We added Keenan trainings. You know, like bloodborne pathogens, all the things like you may have to do in your workplace. We've added those in as part of our curriculum as well. And again, a lot of our ELLs, they've never been out at a work site and really been able to be given the opportunity to shadow or just work right alongside a nurse. And also the medical staff. And it really brings their confidence up once they're out there. Some of them are scared to death because I don't think their English is good enough. But once they're out there and with their instructors, also Mrs. Leva, Paul's staff member, they get that confidence that they can do it. Many of our adults have now not only completed the program, they've completed our CNA program. We've even had one go into the RN. And so it's really that pathway to, you know, building a better, you know, they're moving on and going up. So we've added a lot. But that language support is so important. So we use Burlington English as well. So all students get access to that. They also get access to a Chromebook. And so they're able to work even on their language when they're not in class. So, and there's a co-app that's embedded in that as well. Any questions on the pros? Paul, did you see anything else? Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. So here's some other considerations. Expensive to maintain. It is expensive, and IET is, because really for one program, you have 2 instructors. Sometimes I have 3 in there just to provide that extra support. So that can be very costly. Sometimes it can be confusing to students because they do have so many people helping them or working with them on the program. But I will say that one of the things we've done to help with that is that we brought everyone to the table. And now with our onboarding and our orientation process, this last cohort, we had everyone in the room at the same time. So the adults met everybody at the same time. So if they got a call, prior to with our instructors, they knew our instructors, but if we partnered with anybody, they didn't really know them. So if they got a call from one of our partners, they're like, who is this? Do I answer? Do I need to do? And it was confusing to them. Now we bring everybody to the table during our orientation and our onboarding at the very beginning, so students feel comfortable, and they also know that they have a lot of support for them. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. Really, you only need one career technical education instructor. So you need one ELL, one CTE, and again, our workforce partner. The reason I brought in 2 for the CTE is because my nurse assistant, my certified nurse assistant instructor, Mrs. Ballard, who's an RN, you have to be an RN to go out to clinical. But because she's also getting ready for her next cohort of her NA students coming in, it can be really hard because, again, you got to really have that break. So that's why I had another instructor that volunteered. So we cross-train them. So at any time Mrs. Ballard's going to be out or Mrs. Santoya is going to be out, they can still move on with their CTE. But to go out to clinical, you have to have an RN. Yes. Yeah, the teacher. Well, actually, because we've had our partners, they've been helping us be able to reimburse for the instructors, and so that has really helped. So thanks to Clover and the team with their grant, their EDD grant that they received, that has really helped us. We also have our pathway through the consortium. So we also have those funds that have helped us, not necessarily for IET, but for some other pathways for our students that have helped, because it can be expensive. Even though this IET is 2 weeks full time, it doesn't seem a lot. My other IETs are longer. One of the new ones that we're looking at doing is we have a brand new pharmacy tech program that is nationally recognized. And so we're looking at an IET for the pharmacist just came to us and said, we need these people as pharmacy clerks. And we got approved as apprenticeship for our pharmacy and our surgical tech. So they want them now as clerks. So those are one of the things that to start those programs to be able to do that. So if approved, if our plan gets approved, that is our next goal, is to start that one. Yes. Well, this is our 4th cohort, and surgical tech. It was difficult because our first instructors for that program were part-time, and part-time Unitech came into our hospital and they started recruiting our surgical techs to go into the RN. So I lost my part-time because of that. And this time I hired a full-time instructor. And now we do 2 cohorts. So we have a fall and a spring cohort for surgical tech. Yes, it's approved apprentice as well. Yeah. We haven't, and it is the lowest paying one out of all of them. I mean, this is, minimum wage in California, so it is definitely the low paying. But I will tell you that our students who are from our our ESL population who are wanting to go in the healthcare, this is that perfect opportunity because they're getting the language and the CTE program done at the same time, and it builds their confidence to then get into their nurse assistant. I can't call it certified nurse assistant because they're not done until they're certified. So we call it nurse assistant, but they feed right into that. We also are part of the Cal Jobs, the employment training programs are approved, including our resident care technician is on the Cal Jobs is approved ETPL program. The reason we did that is because Paul's program, that's how they're reporting the outcomes for all of our students and reporting that. So I'm not even sure if our state partners are aware. Did you guys realize that our resident care is on the Cal Jobs? It's an approved program. So anyway, that's new, but that's how we're tracking all the data for that. And that's how Paul's agency is doing that for the EDD grant as well. So lots of different, we have changed this program over the years or over the last couple of years. But again, it does require more staff and also resources, and that's why you want to partner. One of our SIP goals was having strategic partners and increasing our partnerships with individuals in our community, and we do quite a bit of that, but being strategic about it as well. Transition placement support and all the wraparound services, again, we have support for all of our students. So when they leave the program, they're not just done that day and they don't come back. This last cohort, you're gonna see some pictures. Paul, do you want me to share them or? So these are some of our cohorts. You'll see the first one, March of 2024. They were small. And then this last cohort, this was our largest cohort, the last one, they just finished in the spring. And you'll see even, let me go back, you'll see the uniforms have kind of changed as well. Actually, I don't think we have the first cohort on there. I think we have these last three because this is our fourth, yeah. Yeah, the first cohort, I want to say, had 5 students. So you'll see how it's grown. And then the instructor is on there as well, Mrs. Ballard. So when we talk about our partners and really having the support for our students, at the end of this last cohort, Stephanie Leva, when we got together and met as a team, we talked about at the end really having the students come back, making sure they had their portfolios, but also having mock interviews with the students with employers that were hiring. This is that day. So they came back the Monday after spring break. They came back. We had Visiting Angels. We had Family Healthcare Network, Dedicated Care in-home services, and also a past student, which he was also recognized as well during, I believe, CASA Summer Institute when we received our Promising Practice. Alfredo Moreno, he was one of the individuals that he was a graduation speaker, but he also had gone through several different programs or medical programs. He came back on this day and he spoke to the resident care technician students. And another partner that I didn't even mention on here, which is a big partner of ours, is Porterville College. So they are on our campus. Their academic advisor, Antonio Salazar, and their counselor, Ashley, they're on our campus. So when a student completes a program, we have a smooth handoff to transition to Porterville College. So for instance, they're getting ready to bring back their LVN program in 2026. They have now approved our classes as prereqs to get into their LVN. So we're gonna start marketing together. They're gonna put our logo on their flyers and vice versa. So we're excited about that. These are the students. Again, this is our employer resource fair. And also something else that we started to do, in fact, it's April 15th. So if anyone is in our area on April 15th, At Porterville College, the Workforce Investment Board, Porterville Adult School, and Porterville College, we put on a joint job fair. We usually have 40 employers with over 1,000 job openings, and it's open to all of our students. So our students meet out there. They get college tours, especially of their career tech ed programs. And, they're out there the whole day. And then VR. I'm going to turn it over to Paul because Paul's the VR expert. Yes. 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 Well, so when we do the plan for the for WIOA, okay, yes, it'll ask us how many students did you serve or complete the program, and that's pretty much all they ask on that piece. But when you get a program on the Cal Jobs or the employment training panel, then you have to keep track of completion and placements. So yes, we are keeping track of that because that's a requirement. You also want to do that for grant requirements as well. I would say about, do you remember from the last cohort? Some went on. I want to say this last cohort, we had 3 go on, actually 4 went directly into our certified nurse assistant program. And then we had one actually, well, from the last cohort, we had one that actually had to move. And then the rest, most of them are working or, yeah. I do want to, something I didn't mention. So qualifications to get in the programs, you want to make sure are exactly what the employer is requiring. So the very first cohort, when we only had the 5 students, we had required for this training that you had to have a high school diploma or high school equivalency. Well, when the employer came to the table, they said for that position, we don't require it. However, that is a goal of ours. We want our students to have that. So we did allow our students that we're in our high set class to, at the same time that they're doing that, to be in that program as well. So in the last cohort, some of them had to complete that first, and they all did, before then they could work. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they're asking if we have a cost per student. I would say that our cost per student would be roughly probably about 300, 350, wouldn't you say, Paul? If we had to do that. Immunizations can vary. They can be minimal to 100 and something. The uniforms are about per student. Now they have 2 uniforms. They have a jacket and they have a pair of shoes. So for each student, that's about a couple $100 for that. And then that's it as far as, yeah, yeah. Oh, including instructional. You know what? I do have that on a spreadsheet when we, for grant purposes. I will send that to you. So I will share my card with you. So I don't want to just throw a number out there with not being specific, but with that, also even curriculum. I mean, again, now in California, you could charge for the CTE piece. We do not charge. For our IET, we don't. Now, for our CTE programs, like for nurse assistant, it is $1,500 for our nurse assistant. However, most of our students qualify for scholarships to get into our program. And that's one of the things that we do is we refer them to our employment connection partner. We work very closely with them. They're on our campus. Employment Connection is on our campus every Thursday all day. So when we know that we have a cohort starting, like we right now are already enrolling for classes starting in August. That's how early we do it because the workforce partners, they need a month. And they've asked us, they need 1 month to get them qualified to see if they qualify for any type of resources. So we have to have that in there for that. Yes. So we utilize CASAs. Yeah, so for a regular CTE, and again, this is our ESL, so they're the high level. Most of them are intermediate, that's where they're testing at, or higher, okay? Some of our last cohorts, we had a couple that they were really high. Actually, that's one of the things that we're going to really have to look at is because remember, you could have any adult enroll in the program. It's not just your ELLs, but when we're assessing, so we have to look at that. But that's one of the things we have to get better at when it comes to that. But we do cost this pre and post. The other thing that we've embedded into all of our classes, and we're not talking about it here, but I did have 3 staff and one of my administrators get selected for the DLAC, the Digital Leadership Administrator Academy. Did I have that right? Digital Leadership Administrator Academy. It's a 2-year project, and we're using North Star. So we've embedded North Star into all of our classes, including our ELL and our CTE programs, because if these students want to enroll in any other CTE class, there's a basic computer test that they have to pass. Currently, if they don't pass it, they can go in our adult basic ed program with Mr. Boucher, and he will work with them for a minimum of 40 hours and then post-test them so that then they can go back and retake one of the assessments through the North Star. So if you haven't had a chance, that's a whole nother workshop, but to really look at North Star because we're embedding that. But VR is something I want Paul to talk about because now we've embedded VR exploration with all of our IET courses.
Okay. So the last 10 minutes, what we'll do is, or 15 minutes, I think we have left here, is share that piece about the technology. One thing about, again, the digital divide and the access issues that we're seeing, of course, is, the expense that it takes to bring a technology like virtual reality, to your schools. Does anyone do VR at your campus? 3, 4. Okay, 4 of you. Okay, so as you can see, less than a quarter of you maybe even know about this technology, or maybe are maybe equipped right now with the capacity. So what's really amazing is, it is something new. It is something, that takes a lot of effort, and it still is something we're trying to really perfect and try to improve, because there's a lot of different things when you introduce something new like technology, especially at school districts, that they're going to want to know about. Firewalls, security, student security, things of that nature. Something to always consider. This, what you see up on there, is our first introduction, though, to getting faculty first involved. I encourage you to do something like this. Take time to get your faculty exposed first. Because once they become believers, your director will have so many more advocates for it. Yeah. So
That's Mr. Boucher, who is our adult basic ed instructor. So those students that come in that don't receive that 236 or above on the Costas reading assessment for a regular academic program, they actually go in with Mr. Boucher for some applied digital skills, but he is also our VR instructor. Then you'll see Candelaria Santoya on the top left. Again, that's our CT instructors. They're in there doing this as well. And then down below, that's one of our other instructors. That is Jake Bowker. Yeah. Or not Jake Bowker, Jake Winter. And then, yeah, Pedro Uribe, our ESL instructors right there on the bottom left picture as well.
you just look at him like, I'm not going to put that on my head. And then, of course, you've got Dr. Torres there also rock starring the VR headset on there as well. She was doing knee surgery in that picture right there, and she didn't throw up, so it was good. It's pretty intense. It's so real. This technology has evolved, and I started doing VR when it was just like clunky, and you're doing it through your phone, and you put your phone in this headset, and you can do it through your iPhone. It's evolving, and it's continuing to evolve. And it's becoming more affordable, which is really an important part. These headsets used to be thousands of dollars, and now they're under 500, some $400. You can get some for 350 as well on Best Buy. So the technology costs are lowering. What is though an expense is the software and the software, and there's a lot of different software companies now that are coming on board. Some of them do come to these conferences. I didn't see any VR out there, which was surprising to see any out there, but they are at our conferences in California. I think every one of them, they're always there, giving demos and trying on headsets. The directors checking it out. This is one of the newest modules that we got to expose with our last cohort called the Virtual Health Care Clinic. And I'm going to show you a little clip about the VHC, as they call it. There you can see, before I show you the clip, one of our students using VR. What she's doing right here, she's testing the blood pressure of one of the students and is able to repetitively do practice blood pressure taking, as well as doing pulse taking as well. It's fully simulated, again, correcting her, it's testing her, it is a little gamification, so it is like a game, but it's real in a sense of really taking the pulse of a dummy, of course, but it's still in a virtual environment. She's able to do this, remotely, but over and over with the rote kind of attitude of doing it over repetitively.
Yeah, and before they practice on themselves, they can do this or vice versa. So they get both. It's just a great way to have another look at the reality of what it is.
What's pretty cool, if you've never done VR, there's a vibration sense in the hand too as well. So actually, when you're taking the pulse, it's vibrating like a heartbeat, and that's how they're taking the pulse. It buzzes and buzzes. So they're also looking at the irregularity of the heartbeat as well. So it'll be irregular, and they have to be able to dictate and tell the computer that it's irregular or not regular heartbeat. That's pretty cool as well. Besides learning how to count, do the math that it takes to get the beats per minute, all of that as well as part of this process of them being able to do it again in a way that's going to be very easy and also accurate.
The modules for the VR is you really want your programs to do the VR components that are for their program. Like when I was doing my VR lesson, it was surgical tech. Well, now our surgical tech program, we've embedded that in. They get a chance to experience a virtual reality, but my resident care, they don't do that. They don't do that module. Okay. Because, the knee surgery or anything like that doesn't have to do with theirs. They actually do all the patient care modules that are in that because that more aligns with going out to the care facility.
Okay, so here's the introduction to the health clinic training.
The demand for skilled healthcare workers has reached an all-time high. Transfer presents the Virtual Healthcare Clinic, the future of health sciences education. Step into a new dimension of learning, where technology, critical thinking, and clinical skills converge. Experience the power of immersive VR simulations, where learners can assess, diagnose, and treat patients in a risk-free environment. Learners gain confidence and competence as they tackle complex procedures and manage emergencies while collaborating with Florence, our virtual nurse and coach.
We count the pulse for 30 seconds. Here's a clock to help you keep track.
The Virtual Healthcare Clinic brings nursing textbooks to life, providing a dynamic, hands-on learning experience that transcends the classroom. Join a rapidly growing community of healthcare providers who embrace this groundbreaking technology to enhance their skills and deliver exceptional patient care. The future of health sciences training is here. Are you ready to enhance your healthcare workforce training with Virtual Healthcare Clinic by Transfer? Transfer, training the talent of tomorrow.
So many of the modules and many of the opportunities is limitless in regards to what VR opportunities are available as well. So there's a lot of different types of pathways that you can pursue with these companies as well. Let's see, where did I forward out of there? Let's see, let me go back here. Please. Yeah, yes. So there's a question about the funding for this. I knew that question was going to come. So, um, and I'll be able to give you more specifics. So you get my card, and I'll even share you the quotes and everything. But just to let you know, our EDD grant really helped us enable us to um, afford this. Okay, so the grant, otherwise, I would venture to say it would be hard for Porterville Adult School to be able to afford the software system as well. We also help with your with another system called ELLs. You guys probably heard of ELLs. We also are helping fund ELLs with this grant as well, and we're looking at another program too to bring on to called Z-Space, which is also going to be another virtual Sims 3D dimensional program to help their students as well. Um, the technology software varies on your package and how many you're going to buy. So they discount it based on how much as well. And it's negotiable based on to your budgets and things like that. So you know that the pricing that's initial is not going to be what industry pays. Industry pays a lot more, but for nonprofits and for adult schools, they're always willing to get you in the door, of course, work with your budgets. They worked with us, and again, I'll give you more specifics if you like on what it cost.
I just wanted to say too, our local hospital, Sierra View Medical Center, they are all about virtual reality, but also even some of their doctors that have now come in, they are also using like doing knee surgeries with robotics. And so they're very happy that we've embedded this in. It's not just this program, but that is something else to make sure as part of your advisory meetings. Like, this Thursday when I get home, I have an advisory for our pharmacy tech. So that's one of the things we're going to be sharing with them. We want to make sure that you have that buy-in from your partners. You don't want to be doing anything that they don't really want you to invest in. You really want to make sure that you're meeting their needs. And I can't tell you how important.
But this technology is going to become a normal for healthcare industry and many other ones as well as a training tool and something that they're going to expect in a lot of ways that they're going to do additional trainings when they're there on site. They know how to navigate. And so what I shared with the students is this is going to give you an advantage. And share with your interviewees that you've done some exposure with this type of technology. They might not even know what it is, and explain. That's going to impress the employer. Wow, they're actually doing something a little different that's in the future. They love that in interview processes. I know as an employer myself, I always ask those questions. What is technology to you? How do you use technology? And I have them elaborate. It's just 'cause we need individuals that aren't afraid of it, are willing to try it out. So they put it on the resume that they have exposure to this. They're not experts yet, but they have exposure, And so that's a huge advantage for them as well that they're getting through this program. And we just got to owe it to Porterville Adult School for taking the risk, saying, we're willing to open it up and try this out. And we know there's going to be bumps, and the district's going to look at, what about these issues with safety and cybersecurity and whatnot. And, we're willing to share with you some of those tips that we are still trying to work through.
So I will just say that my district, my district's very supportive, but my tech guy, our director of technology, was not supportive just because of safety and so because of the firewalls. And so I had to provide a lot of information. I connected him with Paul and the team. I also am very lucky that my assistant director, Denise Douglas, is our district's coordinator of instructional technology. She's a tech guru. And so with everybody working together, we got it approved. But one of the things that we did this year is in the past, our students came in with their own email addresses. Our students now have a district email account. And so we have that has made a big difference. And so we are moving just forward when it comes to technology. But again, it's about being around the table and at the table, but answering their questions and also just kind of doing research. And I always start, I always bring it to the table, but then if they have questions, I've got to pull back, answer their questions, and kind of go forward a little bit at a time to really get their buy-in. Now they bought in, but now we still have to work on some other things too, because one of the things that we want to be able to do is be able to project the screencast, the virtual reality. So when we're in a room, when one student is doing it, all the other students can see it at the same time that it's happening. So we're almost there. We're coming.
And that had nothing to do with the site. What it had to do, the casting, was that Meta actually disactivated the casting option, and there was some issues between them and transfer. And so they worked it out, by the way, and now they just upgraded, and we upgraded all the headsets. Now they can cast. They couldn't cast when we got in. We didn't know that, but anyways, that's technology for you. It's never perfect. Don't stop if you get a bump in the road, is what Dr. Torres said, and we're here to help you. And I'm sure she will talk to your director if she needs to. Get out your phones. This is a mini action plan for you. This is also in your Hoover app. Your Hoover app has this plan. This plan is going to provide you with a mini action plan to get started on a new IT program if you don't have one currently. This is going to take you through a 5-step process. The 5-step process is the process you see on screen. Had hoped to have a little more time to walk this through, but I think you guys get the gist of this being able to be the key components that Dr. Torres talked to you about. That's going to get you successful to start kind of framing an IET program. We're here for a reason, to be here as a resource, to be friendly, to coach, to give you tips, and the things that I've learned so much about IET since I partnered with Porterville has been tremendous, and I'm learning every day. I learned so much today when I attended one this morning about other programs, pre-apprenticeship IET. Oh my gosh, I was like, this is amazing. What some of the other things that some of our other schools are doing. So what have we learned? In summary, the challenges we heard directly from our students, we're still hearing this. Childcare is one of the biggest challenges we see for the families. Their English barrier, still overcoming that part of an IET program. They wouldn't have been able to complete this program if it wasn't for free. So we know that's still a barrier for our community, and they're still having a trouble finding jobs sometimes, and that's because it's that barrier of that language that we're still helping overcome.
When we heard that and we saw that as a comment, the prior cohorts, that's why we brought in those partners, those workforce partners that hire the resident care or that home care aide position. And we brought them in to talk to our students and interview them, like really talk to them about their agency and their employer, but to get to know the student. So that's why Stephanie put together that one-day training. So every 30 minutes, we had a different person come in, but she also worked with those students on their resumes and those interviewing skills and things like that. And again, every cohort, you're going to have to adjust your.
So what can we do more? We can combine our efforts. We can work together. We can advocate for more IET within our states. We can look for more resources from our government. The Employment Development Department put out over $18 million to select 8 awardees. We're fortunate to be the one in the Central Valley, and word on the street is they're going to renew the EDD project. If you're looking for an example of a grant program that's working well, this EDD ELL IET program is excellent. So please let us know how we can get you in touch, or your state officials, to advocate your governor to put funds towards this in your state. So I know we didn't have much time for questions. I know you already will be here for you to ask more. On this code again is the resources. The slides will be there as well for you to download. Please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks again, you all, for coming to our session. Let's again thank Dr. Torres. Give her a round of applause for the wonderful work that she's doing. You guys have a great rest of the conference. We'll see you out there for happy hour.